Since 1973, at least 340 innocent people have been executed. A 2014 study estimates that 4% of inmates on death row might be wrongfully convicted. That's a huge number. In this video, we look at some heartbreaking reactions of innocent suspects in court. Daniel Villegas. Daniel Villegas was just your average high school student living in El Paso, Texas, right before he was wrongfully convicted of a double murder. It cost Villegas 25 years of his life and years of hardship before his long nightmare ended. Villegas finally got justice in October 2018 when an El Paso jury found him not guilty of the murder he was accused of. The jury finally defended Daniel Villegas as not guilty, but Villegas says he still lives with challenges from the case. 3 years later, he gave an emotional account of his life after being acquitted. Villegas became a victim of the fear that swept an entire community after the occupants of a car opened fire on 4 teenagers walking home from a party in El Paso, Texas, in 1993. While 2 of the boys escaped, the other 2 were shot dead. The police found no DNA or forensic evidence connecting any individual to the crime. During Villegas' first trial in 1994, his friends testified against him. Also, a forensic psychiatrist testified that the young man had emotional problems and mild mental retardation. The trial ended in a hung jury. Then, almost a year later, Villegas was convicted and sentenced to life in prison in a second trial. His 1997 appeal was rejected by the 8th Court of Appeals. Villegas finally won his freedom after being found not guilty in his third trial on October 5, 2018. John Bunn. John Bunn lost almost 3 decades of his life when he was arrested for homicide at age 14. His story chronicles the tragic result of an irresponsible trial and an inefficient justice system. Bunn couldn't hold back tears at his 2014 trial and said, "I have always been an innocent man." Since he was 14, he had spent 17 years behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. Afterward, he spent an additional 10 years on parole. As a young teenager, he faced a violent prison experience and could barely read or write. It took over 20 years to convince the court to reevaluate his sentence. Unfortunately, all of his teenage and young adult years had already been taken. In court, Bunn recalled how he was arrested and forcefully taken to Brooklyn's 77th precinct. There he was handcuffed to a pole and interrogated by Detective Louis Scarcella. Bunn said that Scarcella threatened him and said he was never coming back unless he was told everything that Scarcella wanted to know. David Ranta. A judge freed a man who was unjustly convicted of murdering a rabbi more than 20 years ago, saying her apology was grossly inadequate. David Ranta was sent to prison for the 1990 murder of Rabbi Chaskel Wurzburger in a robbery. However, prosecutors say they had insufficient evidence. David Ranta was cleared of the conviction and released from prison in March 2013 following a review by the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, which raised doubt on witness testimony and concluded that detectives had mishandled aspects of the investigation. The now retired NYPD detective Louis Scarcella led the investigation into Wurzburger's murder. Moreover, in the months after Ranta's conviction was thrown out, more than a dozen other convictions associated with the detective started being reviewed. One of these included the aforementioned John Bunn, Kirsten Labato. Kirsten Labato was wrongfully convicted of a homeless man's 2001 murder, despite a lack of evidence and a strong alibi. A district judge granted a new trial for Kirsten, who allegedly murdered a homeless man and amputated his penis. The ruling by Judge Stephanie Miley, released in December, offered a solid chance for Labato to prove her innocence. Moreover, Labato had been in prison for more than 11 years for the gruesome murder of Duran Bailey, whose beaten down and bloodied body was discovered partially disrobed and with a mutilated groin on July 8, 2001. This crime scene was no doubt ripe with evidence, none linking Labato to the slaying. However, rather than mining the evidence or focusing on likely suspects, police detectives relied on third-hand rumors to target Kirsten, who was a stranger to Bailey. Labato even had a solid alibi, that she was at her parents' home in Panaca near the Utah border, nearly 3 hours northeast of Las Vegas. Moreover, the prosecutors conceded that she was in Panaca for most of the day, but still argued that she had been in Las Vegas, where she allegedly beat and murdered Bailey before hopping in her Pontiac Fiero and blazing a trail up an unlit 2-lane mountain estate highway for home. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.